From Psalm 40. I waited patiently for the Lord. He turned to me and heard my cry. He lifted me out of the slimy pit, out of the mud and mire. He set my feet on a rock and gave me a firm place to stand. He put a new song in my mouth, a hymn of praise to our God. Many will see and fear and put their trust in the Lord. Blessed is the man who makes the Lord his trust, who does not look to the proud, to those who turn aside to false gods. Many, O Lord my God, are the wonders you have done, the things you planned for us. No one can recount to you. Were I to speak and tell of them, they would be too many to declare. Sacrifice and offering you did not desire, but my ears you have pierced. Burnt offerings and sin offerings you did not require. Then I said, Here I am, I have come. It is written about me in the scroll. I desire to do your will, O my God. Your law is within my heart. I proclaim righteousness in the great assembly. I do not seal my lips, as you know, O Lord. I do not hide your righteousness in my heart. I speak of your faithfulness and salvation. I do not conceal your love and your truth from the great assembly. Do not withhold your mercy from me, O Lord. May your love and your truths always protect me. For troubles without number surround me. My sins have overtaken me, and I cannot see. They are more than the hairs of my head, and my heart fails within me. Be pleased, O Lord, to save me. O Lord, come quickly to help me. May all who seek to take my life be put to the shame and confusion. May all who desire to ruin be turned back in disgrace. May those who say to me, Aha, aha, be appalled at their own shame. But may all those who seek you rejoice and be glad in you. May those who love your salvation always say, The Lord be exalted. Yet I am poor and needy. May the Lord think of me. You are my help and my deliverer. O my God, do not delay.
When I thought about this morning, it came into my head about an illustration that I may have used here before, but forgive me if I have. I heard a story of a lady who had a little bird. She owned a bird, and her bird was her whole soul and joy. And it was a happy little bird. But one day the lady was cleaning the house, and the bird was flying about, and out came her hoover. And she was hoovering away. And she was happy, and the wee bird was happy. But all of a sudden, yes, you've got it. The bird went up the hoover. And you could wonder, how was she going to cope? But quickly she emptied the hoover. She got the little bird, she dusted it all down and got it go. And it was alive, and she put it back up in the cage. It was alive. But the little bird had lost its song. It couldn't chirp anymore. It had lost its song. Still alive, but the song, the happiness, the joy, the song had gone. And you know, when I thought about that, my mind flashed back to a lovely psalm, one of my favourite psalms, Psalm 40. And in the first couple of verses of that psalm, David also describes that he lost his song. He lost the joy. He lost the song that God had given him. And you know, that was so true of many, many, many people, God's people. People who led nations, people who were prayer warriors, people who were really faithful and loyal servants of God. They could also lose their song. And we know the whole story of David, who loved his shepherd, who's out in the fields, who played the harp. God was all to him. And yet here was David saying, I have lost my song. And you know, life wasn't just easy for David. It wasn't just all sweet and rosy, as many other people. He also faced, like many people in the Bible, and even today, days of disappointment, days of opposition, days of turmoil, days of distress, and you don't know where you're going. And you feel helpless, and you feel hopeless, and that can really rob us. All those things in life can rob us of that joyful spirit that God wants His people to have. Do you know, I've had days of happiness and joy. But you know, when my father turned and said to me, "You're not my daughter again. You're not my daughter," I would know my daughter. And I don't know you, so you're not my daughter. And I was living with my father 27 years after my mother passed away. Do you think the joy was sort of like, "Oh, that's all right, Dad"? You start to get used to those things when you're traveling that journey, and maybe people here have experienced that or are experiencing it. But you can lose the joy. And so often that joy can be taken from us. You know, people can rob us of our joyfulness, can't they? Do you ever go around Tesco's and see somebody you don't want to speak to them? Now, you wouldn't do that. Alan, you have a lot of counselling today to do this. Alan's a busy man. But we all do it. When people see me, they probably, "There's Mary Henderson. She'll keep you here all day." And you turn the trolley. Or maybe they've said something to you one day and they've just knocked the heart out of you. And you don't want to see them again. And maybe we have done that to them. It's a two-way thing. So people, happiness is seeing people, but happiness is also when people go. People bring happiness wherever they go. Some people bring it when they go. You know, and that can be seen of us. So that joyful spirit, people can rob us of the joyful spirit. We can rob people. Things. You know, we live in a materialistic world and we want things. We see things. We want things. And that's part of human nature. It is really. We're all like that. But you know, and things can rob us of that. They can take a hold of us. Things and material things are a blessing. Not that they're wrong, but it's only maybe when they take a grip of us. So people and things and circumstances. We find ourselves in different circumstances, and that also can rob us of that joyful spirit. That song that maybe we woke up to in the morning, we felt good. And by the end of the day, it's not there anymore. Because of things, because of people, and because of our circumstances. I remember taking a course for carers. And I put the flip chart up and I just put the word caring. And I asked, could they give me one word? Well, I had 3 pages of all the negative things. And I just said, "Oh no, you're all going to press me. You're going to press me. Is there anything happy about being a carer?" Well, they all looked at me. Anything happy about being a carer? And then someone shouted out, "Well, if you didn't laugh, you'd cry." You know that saying, if you didn't laugh. So we put up laughter. Do you know, before that workshop was finished, those carers of all sorts of people, children and elderly people, had went home, I believe, with a feeling better within themselves, a little bit of joy. Because they realised that they brought up situations that they found themselves in as a carer. And you got it right or you got it wrong. I know the day I put my daddy's teeth upside down and I thought he'd taken a stroke in the care home. Because I was so annoyed at the care workers who were paid to put my daddy's teeth in, didn't put them in that morning. And that was disgrace. Well, I says, "Well, I'll do it." And then his mouth was like this. And I was learning all about TIA strokes or IT, all the things you have to learn. And then I said, "Daddy," he could communicate a bit. I said, "I'm awful sorry. I have your teeth all wrong." And he says, "So you never get anything right anyway." And through all those things. But how did David regain? Because in that psalm at the end, we do find that he regains that joyfulness. His song came back. I believe it was because David experienced God's tenderness. God's tenderness. That shepherd. And God's tenderness reaches out to those who are wounded. And here we have David, and he explains that in his psalm, because he describes himself as being in a horrible pit, doesn't he? I'm in a horrible pit. Now, when I looked that word horrible means dim. It means uproar, turmoil. You know, he was in a horrible pit, that feeling, that sensation. So he hadn't the joyful spirit. So he was in a horrible pit. And that pit in the Bible refers to a cistern or a dungeon. So you can see how low David had got. Horrible pit, the miry clay. And he says where God's tenderness took him from the miry clay and set him on a rock. And when I was thinking about that, I could only think as a child, when you played about in the estate, especially in Rathco, they were still building. We were at the top of this, so we were still building, there was no need road. But there's all these swamps. Do you ever remember trying to walk on a swamp and get sucked? Do you ever remember getting sucked down? Maybe your welly boots on. Do you wear welly boots in you, Mossley? You know, but you remember that feeling, that sinking. I remember that. And you could feel yourself going down. Now, that was only maybe in a little bit of sand, a sinky sand. But this is where David really felt he was in a position where he was in a horrible pit and a miry clay. Here was a man depicting how he really felt. Was it guilt that made him feel like that? Was it failure? Was it discouragement, anxiety, pressure? Was it sin? Whatever it was, accumulation of those things. No matter what it was making him feel he couldn't stand on his own 2 feet. He was sinking, he was being swallowed up, he was miserable, and he was trapped. And that reminds me of other people in the Bible, like Jonah, like Moses, like Daniel. They all felt that. And yet here was David. He came to somebody, his shepherd, who he could feel the shepherd's tenderness. You know, the shepherd in the Old Testament, David was a shepherd boy. A shepherd did have to face difficult times, the sheep wandering off, people attacking him. Here was a shepherd boy out in the hillside. It was a lonely kind of work. Other shepherds would have been further away. He was away from home. So the shepherd had to be strong and the shepherd had to be courageous. The shepherd. But the shepherd also had to be tender. There's that balance. Sometimes we think the shepherd was all tenderness, but the shepherd in Jesus is the chief shepherd, and Jesus sometimes has to rebuke us and say things and discipline us. So the shepherd has to be courageous, but there's that wonderful side of the shepherd, the tenderness. And David saw that in his God, who was the great shepherd. Because he went alongside David. But also Jesus, who is our chief shepherd, did that he say these lovely, lovely words. Come unto me, all ye that weary and are burdened, and I will give you rest. He that cometh unto me, I will in no ways cast out. You know, when we take a look at Scripture, and especially a lot of verses in the New Testament, they're balanced, two sides of the coin. For example, here we have Jesus saying, come unto me. That's our responsibility. Come unto me. All ye that are weary and burdened. And Jesus said, I will give you rest. With that other verse that have said, he that cometh unto me, my part. Jesus says, I will in no wise cast out. Do you know, many of us are carrying so many things in life. And that backpack, if you like, it's heavy. I've just come back from a 2-week holiday. And where I was, there were days that we had to go on wee trips and you had to have a backpack. Well, I don't know, my backpack's all ripped. I don't know what I have in my backpack. But you put everything in it, don't you? You think it's going to rain, then you put more money, and you have a camera in it, and then you have I was trying to use those selfies, so dear, those of modern technology. And you might bring a scarf in case of rain. Northern Ireland people have a jacket in it and have everything in it. The sun could be splitting the trees, but the Northern Ireland people still think they're going a new nappy, except their snow boots. So you have everything in the backpack. Well, I was exhausted. And you weighed down. And I wonder why. Three of us were wondering why everybody else could walk quicker. Because they hadn't got half of the garbage that the Irish people had. They were just walking about with a nice wee handbag. We were all, carrying it. And we were exhausted. And it did weigh you down. Then you started to get a bit frustrated because you were missing things on the way with the guide tour. Is that right? We're missing, God's blessing along the way because we're carrying too many things, aren't we? Some things are important to carry every day, but there are a lot of things that we're carrying. All our anxiety and all our worries, and some of them are very, very genuine. But here David tells us that when he cried out to the Lord, you know what he said? God inclined unto him. The word means God stretched out his hand to David. That's what that really means. David said, the Lord inclined ear unto him. The Lord came close to him, but really it means the Lord stretched out, or the Lord bent down. He had to bend down to lift David up out of the horrible pit. He had to reach down. And God today reaches down to the lonely, to the broken-hearted. I'm sure you remember many a time that you've been in that difficult situation, and you don't know what has happened, but you've been lifted out of it. God bends down. And God can use other people to bend down in our churches, in our fellowship. Isn't it lovely when other people, the fellowship, can draw near to help? And sometimes it's not the big things in life. You know something? It's a smile, or how are you, or just a gentle wave can lift people. Sometimes I think it's over to maybe the pastors or the minister or people maybe who can speak better and they know they could do it better. Friends, many a time it's been through a phone call or somebody smiling to me. I remember a lady said to me in a care home that she went out of a care home one day, really, her husband had Parkinson's, so low and so distraught. But she was going out and the wee lady who washes the dishes in the care home and was in the kitchen and just lifted her wee soapy hand up and gave her a wee wave and a smile. She said she doesn't know what happened, but something happened. Just something happened. She couldn't explain it. But she went out feeling a wee bit better. Just lifted. And there was that lady, probably to this day, probably wouldn't remember what she did. So here we have the shepherd, God's tenderness to those who are waiting and willing. In the psalm it also says that David had to wait upon the Lord. To wait upon the Lord. Not only will the shepherd bend down, touch us, but the shepherd wants us to wait and to call upon him. David describes a time of waiting in his life. It seems to indicate that this was a time when he was so helpless and hopeless, and the only thing he could do was simply to wait on God. And there are times in our lives maybe when we do feel we don't know what to say to God, we don't know where to go, or who to reach out to. But very much it's a time of just saying, God knows and God feels. And God is even working when we are waiting on him. The wonderful thing that I've learnt over the year, that the tenderness of God means that God is a great God of repair and of restoration. I do love those TV programs. Is it House Under the Hammer or something? They change all the houses and all the gardens and all. I like Emmerdale too, like in Corrie, but got to be sophisticated here this morning. I like all those other programs too. And it's amazing how they transform the houses and each room. They don't do it all in the one time. And we're a work in progress, and God just doesn't come in. He may come in and deal with every area of our lives. But there's areas of our lives that maybe he has worked on, then there's another bit he wants to work on. But he's that wonderful God who takes our lives, takes our abilities, our attitude, our personality, and he can continue to work on that. He is the Lord near, as Psalm 34 says, to the brokenhearted. Nothing is impossible with him. And in Isaiah we read these lovely words, he sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to repair, to restore. So David experienced God's tenderness, and he also experienced God's touch. His tenderness, but his touch. As we have said, he brought me out of the horrible pit, out of the miry clay, and he set my feet on firm foundation. He established my way. He raised me up again. And David could experience that. When he was down, he raised him up. And we know that song too. When troubles come, we need to wait, but God, when we wait, God can raise us up so that we can stand firm again and go forward in his presence. It's like one of the lovely favourite hymns that I thoroughly enjoy. Love lifted me. When I was sinking deep in sin, sinking to rise no more, overwhelmed by guilt within, but to be overwhelmed by anxiety, overwhelmed by just worry, whatever. Mercy I did implore. I came to God. I waited like David to experience his tenderness and his touch. Then the master of the sea heard my despairing cry. Christ my Saviour lifted me. Now safe am I. Love lifted me. Love lifted me. When no one else could help, God, love lifted me. So that song, if we have lost it, let us realise that the tenderness of the shepherd and the touch of the shepherd can lift us. And that touch has the power, and that tenderness has the power to alter our lives. Alter our lives, alter our vision. So that touch and that tenderness can alter our lives. That touch and that tenderness can provide all that we need to serve God in our homes, which is the difficult place to serve God. In our homes, in our communities, and those that we work with and those that we try to minister to in our church. So I wonder today, have we experienced through God's tenderness, through his touch, have we experienced then God's transformation in our lives? We're a work in progress. He wants to, will not be perfect until we get to glory. And there's things that God's trying to work in my life. And he wants to keep transferring us day by day, transforming our lives inwardly. Inwardly, where no one can see, to give us a new song, and also to transform our lives outwardly, where people can see us. The early church knew each other. The early church knew the Christians. See how the heathen said, see how they love each other. They could see, and there was an outward sign of an inward expression. Their love for Jesus as they followed him, they could see the outward expression of that love. So I wonder today, have we lost the song? But we take hope today because that song can come back. And even in our difficult situations, you know, when we take a look at the word joy, you know, we hear it in the Welsh revival where people were praying for revival. They went into joy and laughter in the revival. But you know, when you take a look at the word joy from Scripture, it doesn't always mean hilarity. It doesn't always mean a good joke and a good laugh. No, that joy many a time means a deep, deep calm. And it's interesting, Ian, you were introducing one of your pieces, and actually you had said a line that I thought was very fitting, how that inwardly we can have, you were saying about the storm, and I picked that up because inwardly we can still have that peace and calm and that joy, and yet we could be in the midst of a storm. And I think that fitted in so lovely. And so I trust today we'll know the shepherd of that psalm, the shepherd who is God. It reminds me of someone who got up one time and they recited the 23rd Psalm. And this person got up in a big audience and he recited, and every word was perfect. And auditory is perfect. And when he stopped, the place all applauded, because every word was right, spoken clearly. The 23rd Psalm. But the man got up afterwards and he said, look, I have a friend sitting here. I would love him to say it after me. This elderly gentleman got up and he was shaking, and he could hardly put two words together. And he got up and he repeated the 23rd Psalm. He stumbled and he spluttered, as we would say. And nobody at the end, they didn't bother clapping him. But his other friend got back up and said, you see, there's one difference between my friend and myself. I knew the psalm, but my friend knew the shepherd of the psalm. The difference. And I trust and pray that as we take a look at ourselves, we take a look at the wonderful shepherd who can touch us when we're in the miry pit, in the deepest feelings in our lives. God can reach down with his love, his tenderness, his touch, and he can lift us up to start a new day with a new song in our hearts. Because David got that new song back. You read that psalm, go home and read all that psalm, Psalm 40, and go home and may it be your afternoon little reading, and you read that psalm, and you'll be richly blessed if you continue to read that psalm today or during the week. Make that your little bit of homework. And may God bless each of us.